Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving deep into the world of back-end web development, and we're going to do it using a language that I bet a lot of you already know and love, JavaScript. You know, when you click that buy button or log in to your favorite site, there's this whole world of logic that just kicks into gear. But it's not happening in your browser. It's happening on a server, maybe hundreds of miles away. So today, let's pull back that curtain and really explore how we get from a simple script to a full-blown web application. So it all starts with this really crucial shift in thinking, a shift in where JavaScript actually runs. For years and years, it lived only inside the web browser. But then Node.js came along and, well, it changed everything. And what's so wild is that it's the exact same language, but the environment it lives in is totally different. In the browser, JavaScript's whole world is the window. It's all about changing what you see on the page. But in Node.js, its playground is the server itself. It has a different global object, and it can do things that browser JavaScript could only dream of. Things like reading and writing files directly from the computer's file system.
You know, they say a builder is only as good as their tools. Well, Node.js gives you this massive, powerful toolkit right from the get-go, which means you can build some seriously complex stuff without having to reinvent the wheel every single time.
Right out of the box, Node comes with these built-in core modules. Honestly, you should think of them as your starter set of superpowers. With the FS module, you can write to a log file. With the HTTP module, you can literally create a basic web server from scratch. These are the absolute fundamental building blocks for pretty much any server-side application. But here's the best part. You don't have to build everything yourself. That's where NPM comes in. It is like an enormous, free, open-source hardware store for code. Do you need a tool to format dates? Or maybe create unique IDs? I guarantee you someone has probably already built it, packaged it up, and shared it on NPM for you to use in your project. And how do you manage all these little pieces? It's all done through a file called package.json. You should really think of this as the recipe for your project. It lists all the third-party ingredients, all those NPM packages that your application needs to work. So when another developer joins your team, they just run one command, npm install, and npm reads this file and automatically downloads all the tools they need. It's fantastic. Okay, so we've got our tools. Now what? Well, now we need a blueprint. We need a plan to build our application efficiently so we don't get totally lost in the details. Now, you could absolutely build a web server using just that core HTTP module we talked about earlier. People do it. But, and trust me on this, as your application grows, trying to manage all the different URLs, we call those routes, and handle all the incoming requests, it can get really messy really fast. And that is exactly why developers turn to frameworks like Express.js. Express provides a clean, simple structure for your server. It's kind of like having an architectural blueprint that takes care of all the boring plumbing and wiring. This gives you a massive productivity boost, because now you can focus on building the actual fun stuff, the rooms and features of your application. One of the key ideas in Express is this concept of middleware. Okay, so imagine a request comes into your server and then it starts moving down an assembly line. Each stop on that line is a middleware function. And each function can inspect the request, maybe change it a little, or perform some action like logging who sent it or checking if they're logged in before it finally gets to its destination and a response is sent back. So our server can now handle requests, which is awesome. But what happens when it needs to actually remember something? Here's the thing. A web server by itself has no long-term memory. It's like a goldfish, right? If a user logs in or adds a pair of shoes to their shopping cart, that information can't just vanish into thin air when they close the browser. For that, we need a database. It's a specialized system designed specifically for storing and retrieving data permanently. Now, while traditional databases use these rigid tables that look kind of like spreadsheets, a lot of Node.js developers prefer something called a NoSQL database, like MongoDB. And why is that? Well, because they store data in these flexible JSON-like documents. And for a JavaScript developer, this is amazing because the data in the database looks almost exactly like a JavaScript object you'd write in your code. It just clicks. And to make working with MongoDB even easier, we can use a tool called Mongoose. Mongoose kind of acts like a translator, or maybe a bouncer. It lets you define a predictable structure, we call it a schema, for your data, right inside your JavaScript code. This helps make sure that the data you're saving to your database is always clean, consistent, and safe. Okay, this next part is absolutely crucial. Now that we have users and we have their data,
We have to protect it. This is easily one of the most critical parts of any backend system.
This is rule number one. Seriously, if your database ever gets compromised, the last thing you want is for a hacker to see a list of everybody's passwords. No way. Instead, we use a process called hashing with a tool like bcrypt. It basically transforms a password into a long, scrambled, irreversible string of characters that's useless to an attacker.
So here's how it works. A user signs in, the server takes the password they typed, hashes it, and compares it to the hash that's stored in the database. If they match, great, they're in. But the server can't ask them for their password every single time they click on something. That would be awful. It needs a way to remember that this user is legit. And the solution is a brilliant little thing called a JSON Web Token, or JWT for short. After a user logs in successfully, the server gives them a digitally signed JWT. You can think of it like a temporary secure ID card. So for every request after that, the user's browser just flashes this ID card at the server, and the server can instantly verify it's legit without needing the password again.
Now, to make this even more secure, a really common pattern is the two-token strategy. The user gets a short-lived access token that might only last for, say, 15 minutes. They also get a long-lived refresh token that's stored more securely. So when that quick access token expires, the app can use the refresh token to silently get a new one in the background without ever forcing the user to log in all over again. It's a super slick system.
And finally, there's authorization. This is different from authentication. Authentication confirms who you are. Authorization determines what you're allowed to do. Think about it. A regular user should be able to see their own profile, but an admin should be able to see everyone's profile. This is usually handled by giving users roles and then checking those roles before allowing them to do sensitive things. And that's the whole journey. We've laid the foundation with Node.js. We gathered our tools with NPM. We drafted a blueprint with Express. We gave it a memory with a database. And we built a whole security system around it. The backend really is the engine of the web, and now you have a map to start building your own. So the only question left is, what will you create?